also be signing an executive order to begin the process of fundamentally reforming and overhauling FEMA, or maybe getting rid of FEMA. I think, frankly, FEMA is not good. I think when you have a problem like this, I think you want to go and whether it's a Democrat or Republican governor, you want to use your state to fix it and not waste time calling FEMA. And then FEMA gets here and they don't know the area. They've never been to the area, and they want to give you rules that you've never heard about. They want to bring people that aren't as good as the people you already have. And FEMA's turned out to be a disaster. And you could go back a long way. You could go back to Louisiana. You could go back to some of the things that took place in Texas. It turns out to be the state that ends up doing the work. It just complicates it. I think we're going to recommend that FEMA go away.
All right, we're going to talk today about North Carolina and the rebuilding efforts that are still going on from Hurricane Helene, because this is obviously something that Trump made a very big deal out of during the campaign and obviously even after the campaign. It was his first official travel as president of the United States to visit the disaster site as well as meet with the victims in North Carolina. And of course, the entire time during the election, after the election, now even still apparently, we are told that it was always a massive conspiracy theory that Joe Biden was slow rolling the aid from FEMA to North Carolina. We were told they're doing everything they can. FEMA's out of money, and Joe Biden is definitely not discriminating against North Carolina for political reasons. And yet, as we showed you previously in the first week of Trump's presidency, you already started to see suddenly people were being moved into long-term apartments, right? Their hotel vouchers no longer had to deal with that because they got oh, look, FEMA found a place for you to live. Oh, look, suddenly FEMA is able to pay for it. Suddenly we have the money. It's just like magic almost. And now, guys, okay, we've got a lot more to talk about today because Kristi Noem has announced that in just 5 days, again, keep in mind that, oh, Joe Biden was doing everything he can. You know, we're all conspiracy theorists. Kristi Noem announced that FEMA has resolved 80% of Western North Carolina cases in just 5 days. That is why you should be so infuriated, but take a listen.
President Trump came in and visited this community and in less than 20 days secured over $54 million for families in need and registered 2,600 families that needed assistance and hadn't gotten that type of help to get signed up for the programs that we have. In the past 5 days, we've decreased the number of open cases by almost 80%. President Trump is ensuring that communities aren't forgotten, and he launched the first major initiative to connect farmers with recovery assistance as well. Today, I had the chance to spend some time with Mark, who's a micro farmer in this area, and to talk about some of the FEMA programs that he's been able to utilize that have been incredibly helpful.
So again, already $54 million in new relief money. Oh, I wonder where that came from. I thought we didn't have it. I thought FEMA was out of money and Biden was doing everything he can. And the most important stat there, it took 5 days to resolve 80% of the cases. But you're still going to sit here and tell me, like all the time later, that this whole thing was always a conspiracy theory. Joe Biden was not discriminating against these people. He absolutely was. Either it was massive incompetence or it was completely malicious. Either way, it is drastically damning for the Biden administration and that, you know, former president, thankfully to say former president. But guys, before we continue this video, because we also got to talk about the Elon Musk audit of Doge that you're probably, of FEMA, I should say, that you're probably here to find out about. Make sure you're subscribed, okay? According to the stats, about 70% of you watching are not subscribed. Hit that red button, help us support our work, and let's begin the push to 1 million subscribers. And with that said, okay, I think it's important also to point out everything that you're seeing going on right now highlights what I thought was one of the most important segments in Trump's inauguration speech. Remember that? Which was him talking about how our U.S. government faces a crisis of public trust. And you look at something like this, maybe that's the reason why. Maybe because, yeah, this was always possible. Take a listen.
The world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair. We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people. Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency, as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina, been treated so badly. And other states who are still suffering from a hurricane that took place many months ago.
Yeah, so in this case right here, promises made, promises kept. Now, going forward, what do we have to do? I think there's two important steps. First of all, you just have to actually provide the relief, okay? If Joe Biden and his administration were not helping anyone, then you got to clean up the mess and go in and help people and do it yourself. That's obvious, and that's clearly already happening with FEMA right now. But what we need, number two, is accountability, because this is not going to be the last natural disaster. This is not going to be the last hurricane. And obviously, if you do not make fundamental restructuring and changes over at FEMA, this is going to happen again, which is exactly why it's so important that today it was announced that Elon Musk and Doge, as they've been doing to basically every bureaucratic agency within our government to look at waste, fraud, and corruption, well, they've now gained access to FEMA's systems. And as you can see, yeah, it is pretty critical to ask the question, what happened to the money that was supposed to go to North Carolina? And let's not forget, this is a good point here by Nick Sortor, the people of Maui. Remember that? That was what, 2023, I believe? Feels like a long time ago, but FEMA also completely train wrecked that, situation and response right there. And of course, what are the Democrats going to say in response to this? They're going to say, no, you can't cut down on FEMA. No, you can't look into FEMA, because in that case, how are we going to respond to natural disasters without FEMA? Do you even hear yourself? Do you hear yourself? We are not responding to natural disasters right now. And that is what is so hilarious about the public meltdown and panic over every single one of these Doge audits. What are they saying? They're saying, no, this is endangering America because in the case of aviation safety, you can't cut aviation safety because look at what just happened. What just happened is proof that we need to reform and restructure aviation safety. Like, do you even hear yourself? You're saying we need the current people working there. The current people working there have made air travel in America the most unsafe it's been in decades. Okay, this is long before even what was happening in DC. There's been a lot of problems the past few years with air travel. It's a pretty non-starter. You have to fire the people who are currently in charge of things. FEMA, same situation. You look at Maui, you look at North Carolina. Yeah, a lot of people need to probably be fired and replaced, just straight up. And, many other examples of that. Of course, they say, national security, right? We're endangering national security. It's like, okay, you just left the border open for several years now. There's rampant crime in this country. There's rampant issues of public safety. Clearly, the people currently in charge of the national security need to be looked into, investigated, questioned, and very likely fired. And the story does not even stop there, because here's another key aspect of FEMA I think that is worth remembering. Elon Musk has said that FEMA's, quote, potentially illegal payments will now be paused for review. And let's remind ourselves, they said this was a conspiracy theory. They said this was not true. It's not happening. And then we revealed that it was happening and they made excuses for it. But anyways, Biden's FEMA gave over $1 billion to NGOs who were focused on facilitating illegal immigration. This is in addition to the use of FEMA money meant for Americans suffering from disasters to fund luxury hotels for illegals. Notably, FEMA funneled money to the Red Cross, which was used to assist the illegals in getting money to the U.S.-Mexico border, literally providing them maps. The Red Cross was giving maps to the illegal immigrants to get them to entry points. And that is obviously just scratching the surface. Of course, we were told that this was a conspiracy theory. We were said FEMA money is not going to house illegal immigrants in luxury apartments for free. And of course, it was exposed that that was absolutely happening. So what was the next excuse? They said, oh, yeah, that fund is real. They're being paid for this. But that money is like coming from a separate department as hurricane relief. So it's not taking one from the other. It's like, is that an excuse? Really? You got $1 billion to illegal immigrants in FEMA. You also have hurricane victims, and supposedly the hurricane money is out, right? FEMA has run out of money for hurricane season, as they kept telling us. Okay, even if it's true that they're in like separate accounts, the illegal immigrant fund and the hurricane fund, does it not seem a little bit broken that you have hurricane money that you need, and then there's $1 billion here sitting in illegal immigrant free housing that is not being sent over there? Like, they really thought that was an excuse, and it was just completely hilarious. And here's just a casual reminder. Yes, the housing of illegals through FEMA literally was happening.
How much is rent here?
Free. 2 years.
After 2 years, we have to pay the rent.
All right, y'all, this is Savannah Hernandez in Brunswick, Maine, reporting to you from the apartments where migrants are getting their rent paid for up to 2 years. Now, I wanted to give you guys a first inside look at these units. The migrants shared with us that they come furnished. So they have a flat screen TV in there, couches, tables and chairs, a bed. We also asked them as well, hey, are you paying utilities here? They shared with us that nope, they do not have a water bill. They do not have an electricity bill.
And what about the light and the water?
Everything is good. We don't pay anything.
Now, I wanted to focus in on this area of Maine because there is a housing crisis going on currently for residents, and these buildings were initially created for Maine residents, but then it was decided that homeless migrants would be living here. Now, as an American, you can rent out one of these units, but a 1-bedroom is going to run you about $1,800, and a 2-bedroom is going to run you about $2,300. By the way, the average housing price for a house over here in Brunswick is about $480,000. So there was obviously a lot of outrage when it was first discovered that migrants were going to be housed here for free on taxpayer dollar. Now, I wanted to focus in on Brunswick as well because this is the same county that has received FEMA funding from that same program that spent almost $1 billion through the fiscal year of 2023 and 2024 on sheltering illegal immigrants throughout the United States of America. By the way, FEMA coming out and saying that they have run out of that funding.
We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
This is why I wanted to come up this way. This is why I wanted to come to Brunswick, because I wanted to show you guys a comparison of how the federal government is treating American citizens versus illegal immigrants and migrants in this country. This is how migrants up in Maine, up in Brunswick are living. We also went to Bangor, we went to Lewiston, and there are African migrants who share with us that they really like it over here, that they've been treated very well.
So yeah, again, it was not a conspiracy theory. It's real. It's always been real. These things were really happening. And my gosh, okay, those apartments, honestly, and I'm not saying I live in a cardboard box, but that's honestly like nicer than where I live. Just full disclosure. Okay, like that, you know, everyone talks about all these side hustles, you know, like invest in Bitcoin or crypto or start drop shipping or e-commerce. No, I think one of the best side hustles that a lot of people missed over the past 4 years was being a migrant under the Biden administration. You know, there are few things, honestly, more financially lucrative than being a migrant who illegally immigrates to this country. You know, I identify as a migrant. Please give me a free apartment that looks like that. Absolutely unbelievable. And again, this was being paid for by who? FEMA. That's exactly why I say the entire thing is so criminal. While people in North Carolina, in some cases, were homeless, okay? They had the hotel vouchers. They were trying to live in these hotels, and, you know, the vouchers got canceled and they had to figure out somewhere to live. These are poor people. In a lot of cases, they couldn't find long-term housing for them. What is FEMA doing? Housing illegal immigrants for free. Zero rent, zero utilities, nothing in pretty nice apartments across this country. And that was $1 billion of your taxpayer dollars being spent on that. Unbelievable. And this is exactly why we need mass accountability. We need audits. And it's such a glorious thing what Elon Musk is doing with Doge, because this is not just a story, obviously, as everyone knows, that is exclusive in any way to FEMA. Okay, this is the entire federal government. This is what they are doing, and maybe that's why they're so scared. The mainstream media is in such a panic about people being held accountable, because as it turns out, if you actually show to Americans what their taxpayer dollars are being spent on, yeah, they're not going to be very happy. I think in many ways they will wake up even more to what I guess the right wing or populist side is saying. And yeah, it's a pretty bad look for them. The political establishment they've been told to trust for so long, this is what they're doing. This is like the credibility. You need the experts and the adults in charge. Well, that's what they were doing. Okay. So with that said, though, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.